God damn it. You're making it so difficult. Hey, what up? Yeah, my bad. Hold on. YouTube makes everything hella difficult to do. It's making me, it's like, yo, stream on your phone through your computer. Actually, it's like on your phone. Actually, double psych on the computer. Alright. Yeah, this is so if you can tell by the title, this is about the idea that is permeating throughout Abayala, Turtle Island, so-called America, with Africans in America, so-called black people, who are obsessed with being American. And it's cultish because America in and of itself is a cult. Like, we live within a cult. We do all the things that cults do. We just may be a little bit farther from the extreme side because everything is dialectic, so it's all a spectrum. So we are definitely in a cult. Nevertheless, the folk that want to be American are basically like Nuwapians. Now, if you don't know who Nuwapians are, it was a cult made by this man named Malachi York in the 90s that was not even relatively popular. That was extremely popular. Where dude had thousands of followers. Dude had thousands of followers. Not only did he have thousands of followers, he was extremely influential. And he also was a sex pest. I say that because obviously, you know, with YouTube, certain words you can't say. He hurt a lot of children and adults. But the my best friend and her family were in that. Yeah. Actually, funny enough, speaking on that, I don't listen to his music, but 21 Savage, his mama came to America because of the Nuwapians. Like, also, Mark Lamont Hill was a Nuwapian when he was younger. He used to drive people back and forth or whatever to the fucking compound. He spoke on that. Like, he was a Nuwapian. So it kind of makes sense why he defends somebody like Dr. Umar. Dr. Umar, he got his doctorate, whatever. Nevertheless, the cult of America is similar to the Nuwapians in that it is very bombastic, it's very violent, it's very showy, and it is built upon this idea of superiority that doesn't exist because those motherfuckers believe they were aliens. This dude, he got arrested, I think in 99 or 2002, one of the two. He was convicted in 2004 for 135 years. People to this day are fighting for him. Like, they're fighting for this man to this day. Like, people, again, when he was hella popular, you see I have Louis Farrakhan in the thumbnail. He was somebody that spoke on him, showed him hella love because Louis Farrakhan is a piece of shit and has always been a piece of shit. One of the greatest things you can watch to know how much of a piece of shit he is this event that happened in Harlem with the NOI and Dr. Betty Shabazz, where they had a fundraiser for Dr. Betty Shabazz's daughter that was planning on assassinating Farrakhan. And that daughter also was the one who had the son that ended up sadly killing Betty when he set the house on fire because he had mental health issues. And so that's how she lost her life by her own grandson. He set the house on fire. But his mom was someone who was working with somebody, I think in like Minnesota or some shit, to assassinate Farrakhan. She got caught because the person that she was connected to was actually a Fed, and so they were trying to raise money, and so they had this event in Harlem. Like, I think it was, I feel like it was before I was born because I watched it a little bit. But it had this event in Harlem where it was one of the first times Dr. Betty and Farrakhan saw each other since Malcolm was assassinated. Because obviously we know Farrakhan was big on like, yeah, nah, we handle our own, like that type shit. So it was the first, one of the first times that Dr. Betty and Farrakhan were in the same room. Farrakhan, though, was somebody who bigged up the Nuwapians because it was this whole idea of racial essentialism and racial superiority. As we know, race is a sociological phenomena, so it's a sociogeny. So it doesn't exist in bioscience, but it exists in interpersonal and personal interactions. You are judged by race as far as in this colony, not even necessarily by looks, but that's an easy indicator. But it's usually used as a way to like be able to like identify people for a plethora of things. But again, it's a sociological phenomenon because as shitty as Sinners was, the one thing that Ryan Coogler could have did was speak on the fact that Chinese people at that time were seen as colored. Because again, race makes no sense. Nevertheless, not only did Louis Farrakhan shout him out and say, yeah, we need him, and like the man is coming after him, because when he first got knocked and got arrested for assaulting children and extortion and all the other wild stuff, they were like, oh, it's a plot to take it over. I mean, it's a plot to take down the black man this, the black man that, the black man, they just don't want the black man. Al Sharpton, also, it was Fat Al Sharpton at the time. I don't mean fat to be offensive, but that's what he was at the time. It was Fat Al Sharpton at the time that was bigging up the Nuwapians, went to Malachi's compound and spoke. I think he went to the compound. He definitely was in a space and place with Malachi and spoke about the Nuwapians. Still to this day, Al Sharpton has said absolutely nothing about apologizing for supporting Malachi York. Because still to this day, people are fighting over the idea that Malachi York was targeted. Even though there's like firsthand accounts, even from Mark Lamont Hill, that he said when he was younger, he didn't really catch on, but then he started to see like weird stuff like little boys or little girls going into his rooms and him not being allowed to go there. Like even Mark Lamont Hill spoke about this. The cult of personality that he created still to this day exists. There's still people right now online to this day that scream about Dr. Malachi York. But his idea of racial superiority, racial essentialism, ties into the idea of the Black American. Because again, what is America but a colonial project that was created by imperial means? That's it. That's what America is. It's a colonial project that was created through imperial means. So it's an idea. So America itself doesn't exist unless you actually give into the idea of America. Meaning America is metaphysical. Like borders are metaphysical. So the idea of America, what up, Robin? The idea of America is something that, you know, the people who did the imperialism to create the colonies, that's something that they put on Abiyala. A Black American, again, what is black? We know you could talk about the Greeks and stuff when they first interacted with people in North Africa and calling everybody that they interacted with in North Africa Libyan and blah blah blah, and then saying that the Arabs through interaction, like through interaction of trade and then also the sub-Saharan slave trade, called people black, but it wasn't institutionalized. The idea of black became obviously institutionalized by 1676 When we talk about the Bacon Rebellion, yada, yada, yada. I don't need to go into that because at this point we already fucking get it. But the idea of black was created by whiteness to be subservient to that idea, that ideology, however that moves. Blackness is something that we created as a way of a diasporic response to being separated from Africa. Goddamn. I got it. Yeah, pre-Zimpic. I get it. It works. It works. Don't worry about it. And shout out to everybody that's in the chat. I appreciate y'all listening to me ramble for a little bit. The idea of black created by white folk to have something subservient to it. We created blackness from black because, again, if we were all stolen from predominantly West Africa, then obviously North Africa, East Africa, and all that other stuff came, but predominantly West Africa, you had a bunch of different nations. Oh shit, what up? What up, Samantha? But yeah, we had a bunch of different nations all together on boats by the thousands that all didn't speak the same language. So think about how amazing language is before I keep going into this. But imagine being on a boat after you were captured and sold into enslavement. You are sitting next to people. What up, Trey? Next to people you don't know, or you haven't interacted with like that, and y'all both don't speak the same language. Now imagine that multiplied by the millions. So when it comes to like slang and jive and all that other shit, that's why it's so important to not tell people what woke means. But black is supposed to be a subservient thing to whiteness. So a black American fighting for black America, what is that exactly? Are you wanting to colonize yourself within a colony? Because right now we have so many people that want to be foundationally black Americans. They want to be Solan, which are so autochthonous Americans, which is the same thing because they're so the Solan people were from Tariq Nasheed's camp. They actually talk on like Twitter Spaces all the time. Like I've listened to this shit. It's pretty sick. The idea though of this black American, it's like, but why though? Like when you consider the fact that now we are at a point where people are arguing reparations. I mean, people have been arguing reparations for decades. Like obviously, you know, Mother Moore and a bunch of other people before that have been arguing reparations for decades. But as we understand, money isn't real, so the value of it changes like that. And asking someone who used to see you as property for pay kind of makes no goddamn sense. Asking your abuser for like restitution is pretty odd, because why would I make it better for you if I don't like you? Like on a material level, if I don't fuck with you, what does it make any sense for me to do to give you something that is going to put you in a better position than me? This is why racism, the system, is so, for lack of a better term, it's so beautiful of a fucked up thing, because you can have materially poor people who are considered white still feel better than me or you or anybody else in this chat because they're considered white, until a better white with better money comes around and then shuns them. And then they don't even see the dynamic in that. They just think they need to go get more money. They just think they need to get their bread up. So when it comes to this idea of being a black American, you are just basically asking to be subservient to whiteness. You don't necessarily want liberation. You want to be free, but you don't want to be liberated. And I think I maybe explained this before, but I'll explain it now. To be free is to just do what you're doing right now. Like we all are free. Freedom, though, has its limits. It can be taken away. It can be for a limited amount of time. It can it can start to wane, or again, you can start to gain more freedom over time. But there's always some kind of factor. There's always some kind of impediment that makes it so that your freedom is gauged. But liberation is in and of itself antagonistic because you are trying to get yourself away from something that is impeding upon your ass being able to be free to do whatever you want. So we are free to do shit within a framework of colony under empire, but we are free to do whatever we want. Liberation brings about actual freedom, full-on freedom. So I know they were talking about dialectics in Saturdays with Renee. That's the dialectical understanding, like the extrapolation. It's not freedom and liberation. It's liberation brings about full-on freedom. So to want to be a Black American, to want to be the chosen people, you in and of yourself are looking to basically make it so that you are closer to the feet of your oppressor at their dinner table within master's house. This country was built upon genocide. Why would you ever want to be connected to it in any way, shape, form, or fashion? The idea. Like, Black Americans have gone so far. Like, I know if you live in America, you know about the RBG flag. Like, if you watch that Dead Prez video, what's bigger than hip hop, like it was that and whatever. But also you've seen it just like if you just in radical spaces, somebody have the RBG flag. But now the Black American flag is starting to pop up more. The Black American flag came out in like the 70s by this dude named Melvin Charles and this other dude named Gleason Jackson. I think when it was finally made and they were moving around with it, Gleason was dead, but Melvin got to see it. But Gleason and Melvin wanted to be Black Americans. Like, people who connect to that black flag, the Black American flag, think like, oh yeah, nah, that's about like, that's same as the RBG. It's not. Even his daughter said it's not because he didn't believe in that. You like, oh yeah, but what about the Moorish sword that's in the center of the flag? That sword has absolutely nothing to do with the Moors. It has everything to do with like tilling this land and making this place better because we're owed this. Those fig leaves, same thing. All of that is America-centric. Like, when I put this video up, I'll put in shit from Melvin Charles, and you can just listen to a Black American and hear the whiteness within what he's saying. There's, in the opening of a talk, well, it was an interview with Melvin about the flag. They asked him, like, how did it come about? Like, why did you want to do it? You and Gleason or whatever. Melvin was like, when he was a child, it was, I think, June or May or whatever, he was at a parade, and everybody was outside with their flags. They were all doing whatever thing with their flags. And he was like, yeah, I saw the American flag, you know, that's our flag, but that's not like, I want like our flag. But I saw the American flag, like that's connected to us, but I want like our flag. So then from there, that's when he went on the fantastical journey to create the Black American flag because he wanted our flag within America. So he wanted a colony within America. And Melvin Charles is also in the thumbnail. He's the dude that's sitting there with the fro or whatever that you probably don't recognize because not a lot of people know who he is. They have a book. Well, Melvin wrote a book called Rallying Point. Like, yeah, Melvin made a book called Rallying Point. And I've seen excerpts of it because I've refused to buy it because the book itself, because it's so rare, like some places that's just like $200. don't get me wrong, I watch a lot of propaganda for the sake of educating myself. So like I got all types of movies on my fucking iPad, all types of shit, like reading all types of shit, whether that counts as what I think to have a better understanding of things. But I don't need to hear somebody tap dancing for whiteness in a book for $200, $300. Luckily, though, because it's easy through research, you find out shit, I found excerpts from that book where Melvin is talking about wanting to create a flag that's connected to being a black American because we don't have any connection to Africa, and trying to get a connection to Africa kind of falls on deaf ears. So we should want to be black Americans. So I say this with all due disrespect. Fuck what Melvin Charles and Gleason Jackson was talking about, because it makes absolutely no sense, because you're basically asking yourself to be oppressed. This is why people like Stephen A. Smith can put himself into the political realm. It stands for autochthonous, and honestly, autochthonous just means indigenous. So they just doing a lot for real. It's one of those things where like you can say like, yo, like my name is this, rather than saying like, you know, I go by this moniker. It's like, fam, just use regular words sometimes. And what I mean by regular words, obviously, is like you can tell when somebody's being pretentious with the way that they speak, especially when you speak in the colonizer's language. Nevertheless, the push for like somebody like a Stephen A. Smith to be representation of black people, and going on in all of these places saying like, yo, we should have voted Republican so that way we could show the Democrats what's up. Yo, don't talk wild about our president. Yo, I don't like Jasmine Crockett for this and the third. Like, I don't fuck with Jasmine Crockett, politically speaking, and the shit that she's on because she's a politician. I don't fuck with none of them. But when she or anybody else is being attacked by these dickheads, it's not a principled attack. You're attacking from the framework of a right-wing dickhead. That's what Stephen A. Smith is. Stephen A. Smith is somebody that averaged less than 2 points in high school and somehow is a multimillionaire for talking about sports. And he himself has not one athletic bone in his body. I'm going to definitely put the video up of him hitting pads. Stephen A. Smith can't fight. Like, a lot of people can't fight. It's pretty funny watching some of these people think that they can fight. A lot of people don't know how to throw their hands. And it's pathetic, honestly. Like, you as a grown adult, I don't mean grown man, I don't mean grown woman. I'm not gendering this. I'm not making this about sex. As a person, regardless of your physical ability, you should know how to defend yourself. That's what I mean. Like, obviously, if you have things like physical ability that you can't in certain ways, like maybe you can't walk, whatever, you know how to defend yourself. Or people should be defending you. And then obviously not everybody be aware of that, but what I say all that to say, you should know how to defend yourself. Able-bodied people, for damn sure, should know how to defend themselves. People who aren't able-bodied, this isn't about you, because obviously you need people around and there's a lot more shit going on. So this has absolutely nothing for real to do with people who are disabled. This has everything to do with able-bodied people who are talking shit all the time. Like, I talk shit, but I know how to fight. So who are talking shit all the time and have the nerve to try to put themselves into arenas that they don't have any business being in, and they don't know how to fight. Because me personally, I'm not for debating. I'm not a debater. I don't believe I'm a debater because I just want to fight. Because I don't see the point of like us arguing. Like, I can have a proper discourse with you, but I'm not about to debate you on what I think. I don't care, because at that point, now we're just trying to argue. Now we're just battling ideas, and that's a dialectical struggle I don't want to get into unless you want to fight. So, but back to this idea of being a black American, of being the chosen people. You have people who want to believe that Africans in America were like here before the Europeans because they talk about Mansa Musa's, I think it's his cousin or his brother or whatever, who allegedly took like 100 ships to come over here, and then only one came back, and then supposedly like Africans were here before Europeans, and it's like, okay, I mean, even if they were, let's just say, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of there's archaeological shit that's saying that they weren't. There might be some stuff that might hint that they were. But even if Africans were like, even if Africans from the continent were here, as far as here first, they still traveled here, right? You still have to get a fucking boat to come here, and then if we're talking about like, oh yeah, but what about like indigenous tribes? Like we indigenous to this place. You see some of these indigenous people, they look like us. It's like, you do know that the Spanish had colonies in Abayala before the British and French and English and all that other shit. Like, one famous fucking, I get that. I'm not going to meet in the middle where white supremacists, those are fighting words. Exactly. I'm like, there was a famous enslaved revolt that happened in the Spanish colony in what is now South Carolina, where the people fought. A lot of people were able to like get away, either find other shit to do or intermingle with the indigenous people, like Africans intermingled with the indigenous people in Florida, in what is now called Florida. And in South Carolina, that's where like the Yamasee people were. And so there's some Yamasee people that look like me, right? But that doesn't mean, hey, what up? But that doesn't mean that the Yamasee people were always here and always, I mean, doesn't mean the Yamasee people were always African. Like as far as nationality speaking, as far as nationality speaking, nationality, I don't even know if there's a word, I'm getting fucking, I don't know. But as far as your nationality, Yamasee people were Yamasee people. Then African people who were enslaved in that Spanish colony ended up intermingling with the Yamasee people. So there's Yamasee people that look like you and me. And some of those Yamasee people, in I think like it was either the 17th or 18th century, there was the Yamasee War where indigenous people fought the English or whatever, and fought even some of their own people, because some indigenous people was on demon timing because they wanted to like integrate and submit to colonizing by changing to Christianity, enslaving Africans, and all that other nonsense. Because you got like the 5 civil tribes. But Yamasee people, there are Yamasee people again to this day that look like you and I, because enslaved Africans who were in a Spanish colony escaped, and then formerly enslaved Africans, started intermingling and humping and hunching with the Yamasee people, and then you have, dark brown Yamasee people. So this idea that Africans were here first, that we were here first. These are pretendians, $5 Indians, blah blah blah. It's like, why do you want to be from here? Like in the early 19th century, the British colonies and all that, they made it illegal to take Africans from the continent and put them in your colonies. You had to keep the ones that you had there and then maybe move them around. Like maybe you could take some from like, say, America and take them to the Caribbean, but you can't go to Africa and like get more. And that was like in the early 19th century, so the early 1800s, they made that illegal. So you had like people like Thomas Jefferson and all that, like watching the waters and blah, blah, blah. So to that argument, Like, yes, there are some African people whose families' roots start here because their enslaved ancestors were either already here and then procreated and now you're here, or they were already here because they got kidnapped again and then procreated, and that's why you're here. So you still aren't indigenous to here. That's like me living in Ohio currently. Somebody that was from my mama, but lived, obviously, born and raised in New York City, saying, because I'm going to make a child or whatever that's in Ohio, now we are full-blooded Ohioans. No, we're not. Like my kid, yes, second generation, they're first generation Ohioan, but that doesn't mean that they're indigenous to Ohio, because I'm not from Ohio. Like, this genealogy shit also ties into this chosen people nonsense. There's a Black Myths podcast episode, I think it's like 2 or 3 episodes where they talk about it, and then I've talked about it before. You are not a pie chart, right? Ethnicity, like your nationality and all that, is not bioscience. So when you get back your 23andMe and it says you're 40% Nigerian, 20% from the Congo, that doesn't make any sense. Because those places weren't always called that. Like, many years prior, the Congo was called Zaire. So you would have been 40% Zairian. You get what I'm saying? I mean, 20% Zairian. Like, this want for a home, this want for something to hold on to, I understand, but trying to find solace in land and not in people is a fool's errand, because obviously we indigenous people land back, but the land back because of their families. Like, those indigenous people are going back to live with their families there. Or if you don't have a, but you're going to make family. Like, family is not who you're related to, it's who you relate to. So while I do understand on a base level that idea of, yo, I want my own land, 40 acres and a mule, yada, yada, yada. You have to peel back those layers. Because you want that so you can be what? American here? Like, because if you get those 40 acres, wasn't those 40 acres somebody else's? Like, what happens with that? People never reckon with that. Or the reparations question of let's just get money. Again, why in the fuck would I want fiscal restitution? Well, that's redundant. Why would I want restitution from people who saw me as property, wrote off my ancestors as tax on their taxes, use my ancestors as collateral with banks? Chase Bank and Wells Fargo purchased banks that used to use African people as collateral on loans. Why? How does that make any goddamn sense? Like, this idea of reparations, when it's material, always goes to money and land, right? But you have to reckon with the land question. In the money question, what? Like, what? You don't... In a perfect situation, we wouldn't have money in the way that it is constructed currently. Like, the currency that we use for commerce, we wouldn't have it as it is currently. Why do we want to take possession of stolen land with... Exactly. As we use it currently, because here's a thing that might blow your fucking mind, right? If we have money there's gonna still be poor people, materially poor people. If everybody got a check, there's still gonna be materially poor people. So what the fuck does that mean? That means that absolutely nothing has changed. You just have money now. But you're gonna have to spend that money because no, you have bills. Like money is a parasite. You have to keep getting it. There's no stopping it. Like you have to keep getting it within a capitalist fucking system. So to ask for a check back to be the chosen people, to do what with? Like Dr. Ball talked about it earlier, but I've been talked about it before, and this isn't to like say like, oh, I talked about it first, but in the sense of like just bringing up the thing when Dr. Ball talked about the Evanston reparations thing. So the Evanston thing's been going on for a few years now. They at first it was $25,000 for a loan that you don't have to pay back on your home, like to either fix it up or put it towards a mortgage or whatever. Then people were like, nah, we don't really want that. We want a straight check. So some people can get the loan they don't got to pay back, or some people can get the check. The way that the money is funded is like through philanthropy and like through weed taxes and something else. But people have been paid it. But it's for people that lived in Evanston and were redlined out from 1919 to like 1969. But Evanston is one of the most affluent places in the Midwest. So majority of those people who will get that $25,000 probably don't live anywhere near Evanston. So if you got a house already, cool, this can go to fixing your shit. This isn't saying that $25,000 towards fixing your home is a bad thing. Sure. I think so I understand the black belt theory and the principle informing the RNA. We as Africans must rescind with the ethics of us laying claim to. Exactly. So back to the Evanston thing, but done in I actually do have ADHD, so I gotta I take meds for the shit, so I get caught by like stuff real quick. That's why I like knowing stuff, because that's just my ADHD. But in Evanston, this isn't me saying $25,000 towards fixing your home is bullshit. This is me saying $25,000 as reparations is bullshit. Because again, if you were redline kicked out from 1919 to 1969, so that means people that were there are living in places where they're probably more than likely renting. So this $25K goes to what? Maybe goes to like a starter home, because nowadays homes cost too fucking much. So it goes to like a starter home that you're going to have to need money for, to then now try to build on. Okay, Trey, now try to build on you getting that home, or need money for like paying on your rent or whatever have you. But that $25K is going to go like that because you don't have money, you have bills. Again, the good thing about this $25K, if you just take the money, just like if you take the loan, is that both of them you don't have to pay back. And I think both of them aren't taxable. Like you don't have to do taxes with them shit, so they don't go towards your income. But $25K is not reparations. A complete destruction, like a dissolution of this system, is reparations. And that comes by way of proper planning, understanding civics, understanding all these things, doing the right things. Obviously, I'm not going to say all types of shit. Like on my Blue Sky, I say inflammatory shit, but I don't give a fuck. But like, because people don't know me. So, I mean, and if you do know me personally, then you know I'm joking. Or if you don't know I'm joking, then whatever. But this idea of $25,000 being the thing that is going to be the standard for reparations doesn't make any sense. Just like how crypto, where I can have a crypto dollar and then I can look at the menu in a restaurant and the food be like 17 crypto dollars. I got 17 crypto dollars. Now, by the time I'm moving up in that line, then it drops down to in my pocket. Now the 17 crypto dollars are now worth less. So now my 17 is like 7, but up on a fucking menu, it's now 34 crypto dollars. And then when I get a little bit closer, then it goes back to even. And then by the time I get to the fucking register, my crypto means nothing. That is the same thing with fiat currency. Like it's not something that is sustainable. Like this idea that people think that capitalism is like centuries old. It is centuries old, but think like it's like centuries old in the sense that like, oh, it's like well embedded in the system. It's like commerce and capitalism aren't the same thing. Markets are markets. That's something that exists regardless of capitalism. Like Adam Smith with that whole barter system, we went from blah, blah, blah to like bartering. That is a fucking lie, because humans, since the dawn of fucking interacting with each other, have operated in what is basically a mixed economy. Like, so say for instance, this chat, say me and Trey, the way that we do commerce is I do something for Pink, Pink does something for Trey, Trey does something for me. We just all go in a circle basically, but it's like quid pro quo, right? But then me and Done and None, the way we do commerce is I'm just gonna do Done and None. Like it's not even a favor. I'm just going to do something for Done and None. So it's a gift economy. So I'm just gonna do something for Done and None. And then like if they want to whatever I do want to gift me for something or whatever, or I get it was whatever, but I just do it. And then like say with me and Robin, like we figure out some kind of currency that we want to pass to each other, whether it be like salt, fucking gold, cobalt, like anything. Like we figure out something that we pass to each other, but we keep what that amount is like fixed. Like it doesn't fluctuate. Like it's not like gold prices. It stays one thing. Like that's how markets work. So this idea that capitalism is like something that we have to do is a fucking lie. And this idea that we are the chosen people is a fucking lie. Like, I'm Muslim, right? I read the Quran I actually read it from like a dialectical kind of space. Like, but I understand the things within the Quran as a story being told. Do I take it inherently? My analytical brain doesn't allow me to, but it doesn't mean I don't have faith in the idea of community, and the idea of a ummah, and the idea of like God or whatever, Allah being like just is, like it's not a good thing, a bad thing, or this or that. Like we are expressions of whatever that entity is. So we are supposed to be doing those things for each other. But we get too caught up in wanting to be better than creating these fake hierarchical systems that cause us not to work together, that make us argue about whose religion is the best, whose fucking this is the best, whose this is the best, whose that is the best. It's like, this is why religion, when people talk about it, it's supposed to be close-knit. Like, you're supposed to only be really discussing it with the people that believe in the shit that you believe in. Like, if you're evangelizing, oh, thank you, Trey. Yeah. If you're evangelizing, that is something that, like, that's what you want to do, but you don't really have to do that. Like, the word can stay between the people who believe in the word. Like, I forgot what, because I went to Catholic school as a kid, but I forgot what thing in the Bible where basically I think Jesus said it, where like church is like you are your church. Like you're supposed to like do all that prayer and all that at home. That's why like I don't push anything that I believe on anybody else, because that ain't my fucking business. Oh, now I appreciate it. That ain't my fucking business. Thank you for showing up. I appreciate y'all being here and hearing me ramble. And tying that to like this idea of like Black American, where like it is a cult of, you can keep that shit between you and your homies, right? Keep keep the Black American shit between you and your homies, right? It becomes dangerous when you start being xenophobic, homophobic, xenomisic, homophobic, homomissic, transphobic, transmissic, all of those things, and you start arguing talking points, and you sound like your oppressor. You can be, but the issue is like you can't. Proper nationalism is never platformed. Only reactionary nationalism is. So like what's happening in South Africa with the xenophobia there, with the Afrophobia that they're calling it as well, is improper nationalism. It's people arguing the same things they argue here. The immigrants are stealing all our jobs. The immigrants are doing all of the crime. The immigrants are hurting us. The immigrants don't want to assimilate. Blah blah blah. There's not any time they talk about ANC taking money or any of the governments fucking them over. No, it's all the immigrants' fault. It's all the other Africans' fault. But what's funny is that these same South Africans have absolutely no smoke for the white people. They have no smoke for Afrikaners. None. And if they do, please prove me wrong. But from what I know, and from what I've been paying attention to, it has just been people yelling at people from Ghana and like Cote d'Ivoire, like other places. I have not seen not one South African fucking xenophobic group pull up on white Afrikaners and say anything. Like, white Afrikaners are so bold, they have their own white-only town in South Africa called Orania. I wish I was lying, but if you watch my 4-hour video on like politics, race, and blah, 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 I talk about Orania. But you see, that's not proper nationalism. Now, I'm not saying that proper nationalism is going in there and attacking the white Afrikaners, because some of those people, it's not their fault that they're there, right? But what I am saying is proper nationalism would come to the question of why do the white Afrikaners who make up less than like as far as like owning land and shit, they make up most of the people owning land, but they aren't that big of a population in mass. But they are like 7%. That's what it is. Like I think it's like 7% own like 90-something%. Like it's a small percentage of people that own majority of the land. That's the nationalism. That's proper nationalism, right? Because it's like if I'm a South African person, and if I lived through the apartheid, if I lived through the capitulation of the ANC, going from a radical armed resistance group to turning on Winnie Madikizela and Nelson being unrecognizable to when he left Robben Island. That, to me personally, like obviously he did what he did. He's an amazing person for what he did, but that transition was just wild to me. Like, so if I lived through that, if I lived through the Bantu education, if I lived through all of that, and I have a pride in South Africa and South Africans, I want a better living situation for everybody. We need to have a question. It's not no fucking no truth and reconciliation. Because South Africa Bishop Desmond Tutu did a truth and reconciliation where South African mercenaries, like dudes that was working for the government and mercenaries, got up there and was like explaining the horrific things that were doing to South Africans with smiles on their faces. Like there's interviews of dudes, yeah, he is. There's interviews of dudes who was smiling like, yeah, we slit their throat, we set them on fire. They were this is why Mama Winnie was talking about we're gonna light their necklaces on fire. Because that's what they were doing to South Africans. So when they were calling Mama Winnie and the Nelson football crew like terrorists, they were literally being attacked. All South Africans were getting, There was one. There was one story. I think there was a man that was talking about hanging someone, and before they hung him, they stabbed him. They stabbed him several times, and then they hung him. And he just sat there like it was nothing. It was so bad at the ANC. I mean, at the Truth and Reconciliation, that Bishop Desmond Tutu was seen crying several times. And what's even sicker is that there were white people that live in South Africa that was saying, "Oh yeah, I don't even know why y'all doing this. Like, who cares? Like, get over it." Like, saying that. And then there were, South Africans saying like, "Yo, why y'all doing this? Like, we need something more material," right? So proper nationalism is arresting every single person that went up there and admitted to crimes against humanity. Because why would I allow this person to call themselves South African after they just told me that they stabbed the man several times and hung him? You are no longer South African proper. We got to figure some shit out. That's proper nationalism to me, like where we answer certain questions. Proper nationalism isn't Africans in America, so-called black people, operating from a space where they feel as though they aren't connected to anything. So they want to connect to something. So they connect to the flag. You connect, like proper nationalism isn't Colin Kaepernick kneeling for the Pledge of Allegiance. First of all, Colin Kaepernick asked a former terrorist, a former soldier, former terrorist, was a proper way to protest the flag. So that's already strike one. Him even asking. And then especially asking somebody from the fucking U.S. military. Strike two is him kneeling for the flag. Because you're still showing deference. Like Colin Kaepernick did an amazing psyop to us. Because you're still showing deference. Like, we all like, yeah, nah, get Colin a job. Nah, he a real black man talking about, like, cops killing us and blah, blah, blah. It's like, Colin Kaepernick's socks with pigs on it representing cops, and then him kneeling for the American flag, that's hypocritical. If you see the police as pigs, you don't even go out for the national anthem. Like, I think that's kind of self-explanatory. But that is very black American. The idea that Tariq Nasheed and the kids that made Solon and all that, of creating a space where there's delineation from Africans in America, but they don't want to call us that. Sorry, black Americans, and Africans in Africa, where there's a delineation where we separate because we got our own struggles and problems, so we don't fuck with y'all because y'all got your own struggles and problems. And then the age-old people in Africa don't even fuck with it. That's been a question amongst African spaces forever. Like, there's an old Kwame Toure, when he was Stokely Carmichael, meeting where he was talking, and a gentleman got up and he was like, yeah, nah, those Africans don't really fuck with us. And Kwame had to be like, no, brother, I can't speak on that. I can't speak for that. Like, blah, blah, blah. We need to come together. But like, people have been feeling this because the other thing that comes from this idea of black American, the other thing that comes from the idea of the cult, the Malachi York of it all, is racial essentialism and reductionism. Just because me and you look alike doesn't mean a goddamn thing. I don't know what politic you hold. Just because we grew up in the same neighborhood, it don't mean a goddamn thing. I don't know what politic you hold. Just because we understand the same slang and maybe speak the same language, I don't know, doesn't mean you hold the politic I hold. This idea of community is being bastardized to just mean everybody black. Like I'm like Issa Rae, I'm rooting for everybody black. Like I'm not rooting for everybody black. I'm not rooting for Issa Rae. I'm not rooting for Kamala Harris. I'm not rooting for Obama. I'm not rooting for Al Sharpton. I'm not rooting for Stephen A. Smith. I'm not rooting for Ray Lewis when he cooned out. I mean, when he white maned out. I'm not rooting for a lot of these people. I have so much to say. Diaspora was as an African who grew up in Atlanta. It's been frustrating as fuck. I can only imagine, especially Atlanta, because Atlanta is like the Florida of South Africa. Like it's just Atlanta. The bougie is shit. Bougie and just yeah. So I would love to know what that was about. What that's about. That sucks though. But like this is why like Black American and all this other shit, and why these arguments start to become something that we can't really be clear on, like have a straight through line. Because, for instance, like I said earlier, Stephen A. Smith, piece of shit white man, he said he disparaged Jasmine Crockett. I say, you don't have no fucking right to talk about her, but I don't fuck with Jasmine Crockett politics, so me saying that, now I have to explain to you why I don't fuck with her politics, yada, yada, yada. That's why I just say fuck all politicians. And I mean the ones that want to operate within electoralism, the ones that want to operate within reformism, and any organization that wants to operate within entryism. Because you are doing nothing more than perpetuating the same system that we are all stuck in. And it is progressive inertia, and all we end up doing is coming right back here. All of these conversations have been had already. The books have been written, the movies have been made, the documentaries have been made. All of this shit has happened already. Like, me doing YouTube is, again, like I said before, it's propaganda. Like, it's propaganda to get people to want to figure shit out. Go read some books, go join an org, go figure shit out. But I'll be damned that I act like, again, a Hassan Piker, like golden child type shit. Like, I don't understand that idea. Like, because the contradiction, we're on YouTube, right? Owned by Google. Like, if I were to eventually get to the point where I can make money off of this, I would be getting a check from Google and getting hit up by sponsors who more than likely fund one of the fucking genocides, whether it be the DRC, Sudan, fucking whatever, DRC, Sudan, Somalia. Well, it's not genocide in Somalia, but Somaliland bullshit. Like, whether it be like anything like that, any kind of fucked up shit going on in South, quote unquote, South America, like anything like that. Like, there's difference between contradictions and hypocrisy. Hypocrisy would be me getting on here trying to act like holier than thou and trying to pull you into the cult of my personality. That'd be because after saying that America in and of itself is a cult, now you're making a cult within a cult. So it's just like that fucking Russian toy, just stacking on each other and shit. Just like, so when it comes to like people like Melvin Charles and Gleason Jackson making the Black American flag, actually, I should look up, because I'm gonna read to you the hopefully it doesn't close the window, but I'm gonna read to you. Oh shit, it closed. Oh no, yeah, nice. I'm gonna read to you the Black American Pledge of Allegiance if you don't know it, because this is how coontastic. Sorry, not coontastic. I don't like to use white language. This is how white this shit is. Black American Pledge of Allegiance. This is very brown-skinned, white-minded shit. Where's it at? Give me 1 second. It's very brown-skinned, white minds. Okay, let me see. Black American flag, because then it'll have, there we go. It'll have the Pledge of Allegiance on the wiki. The Black American Heritage flag. This bullshit. Obviously, I'm not as fancy yet to put this shit up on a green screen and all that. So I'm going to read to you the pledge, right? This is the Black American pledge. This is what I'm saying about being subservient to empire, because black was made to be subservient to empire. Blackness wasn't, but black was. Always remember that. Blackness is a politic. I mean, if you want to shorten it, shorthand, yeah, sure, black is a politic, but black really is a word of the whites, right? Black American Heritage flag, Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge my respect to the flag of the Black American and to the people it represents. I shall remain aware of the color red, being ever mindful that it represents the blood shed by our forefathers. The color black gives me pride and identity. I shall always remain true to the American ideal that all men are created equally. Now, if you read that uncritically, you'd be like, what's wrong with that? You know, our forefathers, you know, he's clearly talking about like slavery and like, you know, blackness getting applied into the identity. And then, you know, the American ideal, like that's what they wrote in the papers, right? Okay, first and foremost, fuck the flag. Secondly, the blood shed by our forefathers makes it sound as if enslavement was a war that we wasn't winning. Like, what the fuck are you talking? Blood shed by our forefathers frames this in some kind of Civil War, American Revolution framing. What do you mean blood shed by our forefathers? Like, forefathers, like blood shed by our ancestors on indigenous land, sure. Blood shed by our forefathers can be taken as like, motherfucker, are you Crispus addicts? Like, what are we talking about? The color black gives us identity and pride. That's fine. I shall always remain true to the American ideal that all men are created equally. So that is a gross understanding of history. That is a disturbing understanding of history. Because those people didn't write the American they didn't write the Constitution or none of that to include, we were property. Majority of the people in that room that signed the Declaration of Independence owned humans, and the other people were in concert with them. They were cool with it. So what the fuck are you talking about? American ideal that all men are created equally. That is not the American ideal, materially speaking. We know that. And why? Because America don't include us as Americans unless we want to be Americans. That's when you have people saying enslavement of Africans and the forced labor that they did was contributions. People call enslavement of Africans and the labor that they were forced to do contributions. This fucking pledge sounds as if he is talking about us just not getting our fair share. And like, but we still love this place. Like, let's do it, guys. Fucking America, yeah. Are you out of your goddamn mind? Like, this is why it's fuck Gleason Jackson and fuck Melvin Charles. Because what the fuck is wrong with you? Of course, I mean, I'm not popular enough to have FBA and ADOS in my mentions. And if I do, I'm going to just say this in advance so that way we can just not even argue. I don't care. All right, now back to this. So the fact that these goddamn white men made this flag, right, in the 70s. No, sorry, not the 70s. In 67, my bad, in 67. But they made it in the early 60s. Is fucking nonsense. Another thing that's amazing about this shit is that, like I said, after the flag was made or whatever, Gleason died, but Melvin was still running around trying to get people to fuck with it. Melvin Charles wrote a letter to Lyndon B. Johnson. Lyndon B. Johnson ignored him. He wrote a letter to Lyndon B. Johnson to have him to ask, can he raise the Black Heritage American flag at the White House? Lyndon B. Johnson left him on red. Remember again, 1967. So in the 60s. So remember, in that time period, this white man was arguing to be more white during the civil rights era. Like, he was, then, not to mention, Melvin, because this flag was made in New Jersey, right? They wouldn't even hang it in New Jersey initially in the early 60s, 70s and shit. But Melvin was fighting tooth and nail to get it respected. Again, this motherfucker was writing Lyndon B. Johnson, not about, you know, the white riots, not about civil rights and shit. Nah. Can you please hang this flag? Like, at that time, because the civil rights, obviously the Voting Act passed in 64, but then I think in 67 or whatever, there was another part that passed where it was, it was obviously the right to vote. And also there was a part within the Civil Rights Act that was, it was punishable by law to attack anybody that's a civil rights worker. In the Civil Rights Act, they wrote a piece in the Civil Rights Act to say, hey, we're going to put this in here to let you know, guys, and because these acts are for white people, they ain't for me and you, I get that. It's punishable by law to attack people fighting for their civil rights, like organizing for it. They had to put that in the Civil Rights Act. This motherfucker, Melvin Charles, was writing a letter to Lyndon B. Johnson about raising a flag to be white. Diaspora wars are further... let me go back to the... Diaspora wars are further stoked by lookism, and I don't think people link those enough. Again, so much to say. Yeah. Like, we gotta stop having have conversations. We gotta stop taking people who want to be American seriously. We take them seriously, but not. And what I mean by that is, have the conversation. Explain to them why what the fuck they talking about makes absolutely no fucking sense. And be very loud with it if it's in a public space. And then not take them serious as far as like laugh to yourself. Like, I cannot believe that that you've been outside all of these years and you thought to yourself like, nah, I want to be American. What? Like, South Africa with its xenophobia, Afrophobia. Like, think about the Rwandan genocide, right? They were the whites and the capitulating Africans, and just Africans that was on demon time because of the whites, were racially separating Hutus and Tutsis by arbitrary fucking facial features and certain things. Now, that's sick, right? Because they're all in Rwanda, right? Yes, they're two different nations, but they're all in Rwanda. What the fuck? Like, measuring jaws and noses is eugenics. Like, now, when we talk about, like, say somebody who looks like they're from Ethiopia or looks like they're from Somalia or look like they're from Sudan, like, those people have a certain look, but that's not because that's some racial thing, you fucking... That is just because of how those people adapted to their material conditions. And also, just fucking randomness. Like, humans just... It's just randomness. Like, it's already been discussed, and it's being discussed more, that human evolution wasn't just out of East Africa, that it was a pan-African situation, and that and it was like separate groups of people, but all still same like humans. And then there was mosaic evolution. And mosaic evolution means like one set of people can evolve in a certain way quicker than another set. But it doesn't mean that they're different. It just means like I got my wings before you did, type shit. Or I got this and you didn't. But it don't mean that we different. It's just like different. It's like different colors of the same dog. Like, so the diaspora wars are completely fueled by whiteness. And we perpetuate them by arguing nationality and arguing border shit. White people made borders. Nationality, that's always been a thing, but a thing in a way that was positive for the people. Like, again, like you could be from the Hutus or the Tutsis, that's nationalities. Like those are nations, right? But this idea that you are whatever, so you can't link with them, or you're 30% Somali. I don't know what Somalia was called before it was called Somalia, but if you got checked then, you would be whatever the fuck it's called then, because that's not real. Like, as far as genealogically speaking, the best way to figure out your genetic makeup and shit is like following your parents to your grandparents to your great-grandparents, and then however far you can get within that. Like, but then by that time, it starts to get weaker and weaker as you go deeper and deeper. But you may see, like, maybe my great-great-great-great-granddad looked like me. But again, genealogically speaking, because of the space in between us. But that's biological science. People argue social sciences as biological sciences. So they argue delineation and, oh, I'm a FBA. I'm a foundationally Black American. What does that mean? That means that my people were here first, and I deserve reparations because my people did contributions. We built this place. Eat a dick. Exactly. I'm Ethiopian, so the African jokes would sometimes skip me and target whoever was darker. And if they were technically ADOS, FBA, they were called African for being darker. Yeah. And left them already. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm petty. Like, I block, like, I'm petty in that, like, I don't argue online for real. Like, if we disagree because you think of something that I say, like, I'm not, again, if it's a principled discussion between us two, basically anybody in this chat right now, if we've ever had a principled discussion, then that's why you ain't blocked, because we just talk, we just shoot the shit. I don't need to agree with everybody, because that's odd. But at the same time, the internet in and of itself, again, this is ADHD brain, because how the fuck do I go from talking about diaspora to goddamn internet? But the internet in and of itself is a global, like, social media is a global message board and personal diary that everybody can read. So when people, like, question me in a way like that seems combative, I might give you one or two answers, then you're blocked. Because I don't owe you shit. I don't know you. Like, even as cool as we are all internet people that know each other through the internet. Like, you only know this upper half of me. So it's odd when people have these parasocial relationships and get testy and shit about, like, oh, nah, we got to be able to struggle with things together. No, we don't, motherfucker. I don't know you. I don't need to struggle in a live chat about the shit you said to something that I said. That don't make any goddamn sense. If we in the same org and we having a discussion, sure. For sure. Because we're building towards something. It's a dialectical discussion. But if it's just some, like, what the fuck? Like, this is, what? No. And to tie that into the into the FBA's ADOS Solon people, they have arguing talking points, right? Like, they talk about the Yamasee War because they act like those are, like, that proves that we were here first. So they basically completely disregard Spain. Again, the 11 colonies, I think Diallo said, but, like, because it's true. There was colonies before the English and British or whatever had colonies, and the French or whatever. There was Spanish colonies here first. Spanish people came to conquer this shit first. Because like Vikings, like the Nordic people just like pulled up. They were just like, oh shit. Y'all like to hunt? We like to hunt. Y'all want to see our boats? Cool. Like, you want to see a bow and arrow? Sure. Look, this is a sword. Oh, we got swords too. Then the Nordics, like Leif Erikson and the motherfuckers just went about their business. Like, for the most part. Like, obviously, I'm not well versed on Nordic history, but the little bit that I know, I don't believe that it was anything colonial by imperial means about Nordics like coming around and being other places that wasn't like in Europe and fighting, because they was doing all that battling and shit there. Because remember, the Nordic people, those motherfuckers is the ones that made the boats, and then the Europeans learned from them and blah blah blah. But to like the Nordic people, the Spanish were here doing all types of foul shit from what is now Florida to fucking what is now called California. Like, so again, arguing that you are indigenous. Indigenous means you were here. Like, this is where you started. But I mean, like, not started because of migration. Like, you just was here. You indigenous to this land, right? That's not second generation Ohioan. Like, well, first you'll be a first generation Ohioan from a no generation New Yorker, or whatever. But this is why race makes absolutely no sense. Like, the one thing that the system of racism did do right, this is gonna get clipped and I'm fucked. But the one thing that the system of racism did do right is the idea of ethnicity that came about in like the 19th century. Because like all of this shit is relatively new. Like race science was around a little bit before. Race science was around before like it started to get kind of codified. Like it was around like early 14th century type shit, 14th, 15th century, 14th, 15th century type shit. But like it really started kicking up like 15th to like 17th, 18th, and blah blah blah, and then still to this day. But the one thing they did their big one on was ethnicity. Because all ethnicity means is like culture, right? Culture. That's it. And it plays into nationality, which plays into culture, right? That's it. Like that's it. So, meaning I'm from New York, right? So me being from Harlem would be an ethnicity, if you want to be for real about it. Because culturally speaking, especially before the amalgamation of neighborhoods because of the internet and because like we've been like a deluge of fucking promotion, blah blah blah. Before all of that, Harlem, the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island and all that, they all operated differently. Everybody spoke different. Like, I remember, I'm from an era where you can tell where somebody is from in New York City from the way that they talk. Like that, like to people that don't know, that don't live in New York, and you just hear somebody from you be like, oh yeah, New York. But like, no, in New York, I'm from the era of people where you can tell that, oh, that person's from the Bronx, or that person's from Brooklyn, because of the slang that they use, because language, ethnicity, culture. So this argument of wanting to be Black American, like the Stephen A. Smiths talking about wanting to run for president and how, you know, he got all of these things to say about politics. Stephen A. Smith has absolutely no reason to speak on politics because he has absolutely no reason to speak on sports. Like, that's like if I started talking about women's health. I'm not a fucking woman. I'm nowhere near OBGYN. So I shouldn't be talking about women's health. But if I come up here confidently telling you about women's health, you should run me the fuck out of here. Just like Stephen A. Smith. He averaged like less than 2 points. Like, I'm not great at basketball, but like talking about like sports players, cool. right? But I'm not about to get on television and then talk about sports players because I've grown to learn that I don't care that much. Because that again plays into that plays into the wrong form of nationalism, which is fascism, because it's fucking fascist. By Mussolini, you know, when state and corporations they intimate, they mesh. So when you look at the Nuwapians, right now they're arguing that because he's doing Malachi York is doing 135 years in prison for all of the shit that he did. Right now they try to argue that he was targeted, and they arguing that, you know, the FBI and the local police came in and tore everything down and then took the monies to enrich the local police and the FBI. It's like, you got to charge that to the game. Like, it was just game recognizing game. Is it right that the FBI took the money and allegedly spent it on themselves, and the cops took the money and spent it on themselves? No. But is it right that he got that money? No. But like, and it's not even two wrongs to make a blah, blah, blah. It's like game recognizing game. They both evil entities. Just one has the veneer of the law. But when you look at like the Nuwapians, again, Al Sharpton, still to this day, has not apologized for Malachi York. I've just been waiting for Louis Farrakhan to like go away permanently, but I don't think he's ever apologized for Malachi York. Every time they ask Mark Lamont Hill about it, like, again, he doesn't apologize because he never like spoke highly of him. He just spoke about his experience as like a kid, like driving people around and meeting a bunch of people, and then when stuff started to get weird and why he left. But again, a lot of people were caught up in that cult because he played on the thing that the FBA plays on, ADOS, Solon, motherfuckers that want to be American so bad. The diaspora. They play on the diaspora. The diaspora is not misguided or misled, more so misinformed, like many of us are. Like, everybody learning every day. So being caught up in this ever stressful, fucking violent ass cult of America, we see that there are some people that are willing to capitulate to this shit. They're willing to do what the cult leader wants them to do. They're willing to put their hand on their heart for the Pledge of Allegiance. They're willing to be proud Americans. They're willing to have very gross thoughts about people that aren't from America. They're willing to isolate their thinking within an American exceptionalism framing. And it gets worse when those people are considered non-white, because then now they're willing to do all that, and also they want to make sure that they look good to America, so they're willing to use respectability politics, which is just capitulation politics, honestly. That's all it is, because you're capitulating to whiteness. That's who you're doing it for. You're doing it for the whiteness. And willing to be the exceptional Negro, the magical exceptional Negro, for whiteness. They're willing to be brown-skinned white people. So, looking at America as a cult that we are all in and that we participate in because we got to in certain respects. And then looking at like the Nuwapians, the only real difference is how close we are and far we are to giving in to the rhetoric, to the ideologies, to the symbolism, to the propaganda. This cult of America continues to exist as it does because there are a lot of people that are willing to be at the far end of the spectrum and give into everything about America, the American exceptionalism. So when non-white people want to be American, they feel like the chosen people. Like, that idea in and of itself is anti-human because European Jewish people aren't the chosen people. Fucking Hebrew Israelites aren't the chosen people. There is no chosen people. We are just people in a fucking cult. And if you don't know what the Hebrew Israelites are, that's an organization of people that believe that white people are the devil, all women should be subservient to men, black man is king, they wear Power Ranger outfits, they yell everywhere. Like, I used to love walking by them in Harlem in front of the Apollo. They have very like twisted ways of thinking. It's like, obviously it's like race science and all this other nonsense. But they believe they're the chosen people, and they operate. They're no different than they're white supremacists in that regard. They're no different than Zionists, which are Zionists are white supremacists, because people have had those arguments about what Jewish supremacy is. Jewish supremacy is a subset of white supremacy. Like, it's just a part of that. It's like, because when you think of Jewish supremacy, no one ever thinks of an Ethiopian Jew. Like, we know exactly who you're talking about. It's just the reason why Jewish supremacy exists is because that is what whiteness is using as a way to prop up whiteness. It's not propping up Judaism in the slightest. It's propping up whiteness. And it's propping up whiteness in a way that is detrimental to Jewish people of all walks of life. And it's making it so because whiteness is protecting itself, because that's what cults have to do. Like, if we're in this cult, whiteness is a part of the cult of America. If we're in this cult, because whiteness is America, the cult leader, which is the ideologies, which is the people that pump this shit and whatever have you, they have to find ways to protect themselves from reproach, from adversarial analysis, from any form of backlash. So they make themselves a victim within the same system that they benefit from and attack people from. Meaning, and this ties into Zionism, which is white supremacy, by way of hegemonic rule. So the material laws keep up white supremacy. Zionism is the perfect weapon for whiteness because it just, like a parasite, attaches itself to Judaism, making it so anytime you talk about Zionism, it is immediately seen as anti-Semitic, and it is never fleshed out as anything positive in regards to, like, let's have a real conversation about what the fuck is going on in occupied Palestine, in Lebanon, in Syria, in Yemen, in all of these places. So whiteness, which whiteness initially is the first people that were attacking Judaism. Like, if you look at what was that? It was a fucking pope in, like, I think the 15th century. He made a some absurdum where basically it's absurd to like think that Jewish people and Muslim people should be in the same space as Christians. So it was like Jews and I think Muslims, but definitely Jewish people. You don't work for them; they work for you. They only deal in usury, which is like money shit. Uh, but they're less than like, and that was like the purity of blood era, which is La Pieza de Segra, which was a part of the many crusades that happened, but like the purity of blood because you were supposed to be told that you were Christian by like genealogy in the 15th century. But you see how like that doesn't make any sense. Like when you be like, oh, I'm Seraphitic Jew because I get it. So they were doing that where it was like purity of blood. I am Christian because I'm related to X, Y, and Z person. It's like that progressed itself into being like what racism is today. And the Spanish Inquisition, where they slaughtered Jewish people and Muslim people, where they forced them to convert. That's why they call them like the new Christians, like the conversos and all that other shit, where people have to be crypto Muslims and crypto Jews, which means that they practice their faith at home. They didn't practice it outside for fear of persecution. Like that era just keeps going. It's still to this day. But then all the enemies did, like all the purity of blood people did, was like, hey, we look like the Jewish people that we killing. We could just like take their shit and then poison the well and have people who are like actually like principled Jewish European Jewish people believe that they're under attack and that everybody hates them and that they need their own country by way of us just co-opting their struggle. Because that's what whiteness does. Whiteness is not only a vector, it is also the goddamn disease. So when you want to give into the cult of America, you give into the cult of whiteness. So that means Stephen A. Smith is white. Melvin Charles, who's dead now, is white. Louis Farrakhan is white. Fucking I said Stephen A. Smith already. Tariq Nasheed is white. Al Sharpton. And they are because they capitulate to the nonsense. Like, you could be like, well, how is Louis Farrakhan white? He talked about, like, black empowerment and black like this, like, Muammar Gaddafi was going to give the nation $1 million and the U.S. government stopped it. He was just trying to uplift the black man and blah, blah, blah. It's like, Louis Farrakhan is very misogynistic, homophobic, homomistic, xenophobic. He's operates within like pork chop nationalism. That's all white shit. He's very much white. And I hate him with a lot of my being. One thing I do ask you guys to check out, because I'm about to close this out in like 6 or so more minutes, is there is an interview with Malcolm X's, Malik al-Shabaz's daughter, Atala. I think it's Atala. I think it's I might be mispronouncing her name, but it's his oldest daughter. Is one of them. She's one of the kids that was there that saw him get assassinated. She did an interview with 60 Minutes. It was her, the 60 Minutes host, and Louis Farrakhan. It was one of the first times they saw each other. And this interview was made so Louis Farrakhan could apologize to her for the sick shit he was saying about Malcolm X after he died and all that, and what he was saying about him when he was alive. In that interview, Atala was staring at Louis Farrakhan with a stare that if looks could kill, he'd be dead endlessly. Because she took it obviously on TV. She didn't really respect that apology. And it was like a half-hearted ass apology anyway. So I advise anybody, if you want to see like another reason why I hate Louis Farrakhan, look up, like, I think Atala is 18. Let me find her name. Atala. I think it's Atala Shabazz. Atala. I think I'm probably destroying her name. Yeah, Atala Shabazz. Yep. If you want to look up Atala Shabazz, Louis Farrakhan, and you look up that interview, you'll see. Hey, what up? Oh shit! Robin, I was looking. My eyes only saw recommendation with a smile at the bottom. I was about to say, hey, what up, recommendation? Yeah, but if you look up Atala Shabazz, you'll see why I hate one of the many reasons why I hate Louis Farrakhan. But that pork chop nationalism plays into whiteness, because what do you want to do with that? Like internal colony? Like you want to internally colonize yourself? Like you want an internal cult? You want a cult inside of a cult? You just culting it. Like you want a cult inside of a cult inside of a, like triple C's. You want a cult inside of a cult inside of a cult? This this whole thing with lusting after acceptance, again, like I said earlier, I get from a standpoint of diasporic depression, where even if you don't have any like learned understanding of the transatlantic slave trade, Pan-Africanism, and blah blah blah, if like even if you not, this isn't some academic shit, more so just like material because of what you interact with. It's I call it like diasporic depression, where you want to connect to something, where you're like, I don't know where I'm from. I don't know who my people were. I don't know how I'm supposed to operate in this world. So it's very easy. They're very vulnerable to cults. That's cult shit. When cults prey on vulnerable people, and then they use game theory to keep them, where they give, they hype them up, put them in a place where they reward them for like understanding the doctrine and acting out the bullshit of the cult, and it pushes them up the ladder. What does that sound like? Black capitalism. Jay-Z and Nas just performed at Yankee Stadium. Two petty bourgeois dudes. One, you know, this is an ADHD rant real quick. Nas is one of my favorite rappers, right? I've heard these arguments for a long time that Nas was very like elevated thinking and shit like that. I don't know where the fuck anybody got that from. Like Nas has, I Know I Can. He has like some songs, but, and this isn't to say like Nas makes like senseless music, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, it was just good hip hop. Like, he talked about guns and drugs and growing up in a neighborhood, like slice of life shit. Like, is it because he like whispered when he rapped, like he had the low tone? Is that because where the fuck did Nas become like elevated fucking like backpack rap chain? Like again, he has songs where he makes reference to certain things. He talks about certain, but every rapper does at some point, especially if they're popular. They're gonna jump on something, right? Like I would say, as much of a piece of shit as Sean Carter is, I'm already depressed about how much I relate to this. That's what. Oh, thank you. Jay-Z's best album to me, Sean Carter's best album, is the soundtrack to American Gangster. Sans the fucking Hello Brooklyn song. I have absolutely no idea why the fuck he put Lil Wayne on a song called Hello Brooklyn. But that song, I mean, that album painted the picture of like Frank Lucas, like just that a picture of like a Frank Lucas-esque person, and like operating within his material conditions, selling drugs, seeing what it puts people under, you know, like Blue Magic, the other song that I know and you like it, like all of that type of shit. Like I say that's his most political, in that because he's talking about even Frank Lucas was a piece of shit, but he's talking about like drug dealer shit. Like he was also, but he's framing it in a way where like the drug game is almost a motif. No, it is. It's a motif, and then like he's just like building around it and talking about like again like the Blue Magic song, whatever, where he's like explaining a heroin high. Yeah, and it's piss poor dialectics. Yes, and explaining a heroin high, blah blah blah. But again, I say all that to say, like Lupe Fiasco for sure is like an elevated rapper person, but he's also a very very odd guy. Honestly, I'm gonna talk about him a little bit more and then stop because he's known for jumping in people's lives for some reason. Lupe Fiasco works on, I don't know if it still exists though, but he was a part of a program for an AI radio station. What? Lupe? Like, what the fuck? Like you're playing into the cult of America. AI is a part of the cult of America. All of this shit is the cult of America. You're doing an AI radio station. The fuck is that? Like, why would we? What are we doing? But right, yeah. So that's a part of the cult. Again, we're all in this cult of America. Speaking of Trife Life, hell, Mobb Deep touches on wealth redistribution. They just don't necessarily say that. Yeah, exactly. And Quiet as Kept, Mobb Deep, I think like at least their first 3 albums, like Juvenile Hell, damn, I forgot the other one. I'm thinking of the other one where fuck. I can't think of it. I just know I love Juvenile Hell, but the other 2 albums, those albums are fire. It's just like, again, I'm from Harlem, but I feel like Cameron's first like 4 albums were amazing. Cameron's politics are terrible. He says awful shit. But again, the contradictions, the hip hop. I'm not gonna say the Kick Push one's name again because I don't want him to show up. But like these people, he would reference mythology and religion as well as he did create some of the most memorable street. Yeah. Like Nas is a great rapper. This isn't to say like he's not somebody that can speak on shit. It's just the way that they framed him as like this polar opposite from Jay-Z. It's like, is it Uchi Wally Wally or is it One Mic? Like Jay-Z, you have a whole song talking about grooming a child. Like you have a whole verse on a song talking about when you groomed Beyonce. And what's wild is I used to sing that verse faithfully as a child because I didn't really know what the fuck I was saying. Like, I knew what I was saying, but didn't really catch that. I was thinking I'm singing the song as myself and not as Jay-Z, the 30, 40 plus year old man. Like, I'll just give you the first. He said, Hove got a young girl, Hove got a young girl, still not quite 21. So high sprung, such a vibrant thing. I introduced myself, hi, Miss Thing. You're 19. Like, and if you want to know what song that is, just look up Young Girl featuring Pharrell and Jay-Z. It's, Jay-Z's a disgusting person. But I say that to say, like, Jay-Z and Nas aren't that much different in the way that they attack things. Like, because you can argue, like, even though he was mafioso shit on, like, Reasonable Doubt and, like, Volume 1 and Volume 2 and all that, but, like, they still talking on street shit. Because at the end of the day, Cameron said it, like, I'm just a reporter. Like, at the end of the day, you're just talking about shit. So, and then rappers are poets, so you figuring out how to make that shit sound good. Even if you don't believe in it politically. So, when it comes to, y'all didn't know about that? Oh, you didn't know about that. Actually, let me give you one more part of that verse. ADHD. So like I said, he said, I introduced myself, hi, Miss Thing. You're 19. No, you're lightning in a bottle. I'll give you a ring tomorrow. The scene that follows screams of horror. Classic Stephen King novel. Mama said you shouldn't date someone so advanced in romance. You should just wait. Papa don't preach. Hove don't write. Hove into it. I might mold your life. And I can show you right. Proper etiquette, how to hold your knife. That's basic. I mean, it's like two more bars after that. But that, yeah, that's basically, again. Yeah. Yeah. Right? And right, and the fucked up thing about me just saying that is I didn't say that none of that was hyperbole. Like none of that was me like just trying to get a rise out of you. Like he quite lit because the In My Mind album by Pharrell is like one of my favorite albums. So I know that song, and it's still up online. So again, if you ever need to wake up and you want to be a hater and you're like I gotta get my hate on. Fuck, I need to hate right now. Just throw that song on and fast forward to Jay-Z's verse. You'll get your hate on. Pardon what? Oh, pardon like what Jay-Z said? I didn't know that about Jay. Yeah, but like, yeah, like the sickness of capitalism, the sickness of it all, ties into this whole cult. I know I said it'll be done like, oh yeah, well, yeah, Jay-Z is disgusting. Honestly, fuck it, I'm gonna push it to 2 hours. I got 12 more minutes. But like, yeah, no, Jay-Z said that. Yeah. Papa don't preach, Hove don't write. Hove into it, I might mold your life. So that means he knows that, oh, I got you. Yeah. He knows that he's, grooming her. And then there's that infamous video of Beyonce. I think she was like 21 at the time, where she thanked Jay-Z for helping her become a woman. Like that's still on the internet. Yeah, so this still ties into being American. Like Jay-Z has 2 songs about being a black Republican. Like with Nas. Nas wanted to push to open a casino. Jay-Z wanted to bid for a casino. They both like these things tie into the cult. Like, is it hip hop? I mean, commercially speaking, but hip hop started in the part but hip hop is supposed to be like poetry is supposed to be of the people, for the people, by the people, and obviously we live in a capitalist society, so people, you get paid for whatever. But that art, like many other arts, have been captured by the system in and of itself. So since it's captured, it's just the theme songs of the cult. And this isn't to like bash Young Miami with her song. This isn't about to be an NDI type shit. What I mean is that the music starts to become more important than the actual politics of shit going on. Like, people giving a fuck about what Young Miami's talking about finessing, but not caring about, like, music execs basically signing people up for, like, life deals and removing so much from those people, like, physically speaking, for them to perform until they like 1,000 years old because they got to pay back all the advances they got for their albums and shit. Like, and also the respectability politics, which is just capitulation politics. Like, you just want to be white of, oh, we can't talk about this in front of the whites. Yes, we can. Fuck, why the fuck can't we? What's wrong with you? Like, what world do you live in that everything is egalitarian? We don't live in an egalitarian society. You can't redeem you can't represent nor redeem an idea that was based upon the enslavement of another human being and the removal and eradication of other human beings. There's absolutely no way you can do that. Now, I like the colors red, white, and blue as colors, but I don't like the flag because, again, you can't redeem a play. Like, I don't know how many times I'm going to say this, but you can't. The first Cam'ron album is the best writing he ever released, but rappers have some unacceptably insufficient politics. Lupe is worse because of how technical he is, but it is. Yeah. Well, he's petty bourgeois. Yeah, for sure, Lupe is. Yeah, Cam'ron's first album writing was great. I like his first, like, 3. Like, because at first, like, Living in Harlem, initially I was like, oh, the fruity booty. But, like, when you really listen to what he's saying, like, he's actually, like, rapping. But, again, obviously music, like anything else, is opinion and shit. But I did, yeah. Confessions of Fire is great. This cult that we live in, we have to be honest with ourselves in the positions that we are within this cult, right? Because once you understand that you're in a cult, there's several things you can do. If you've watched any documentaries about cults, you see people who have to, battle with themselves on how they can get in or out of the cult. One of those things you can do is completely separate from them fully, like full cutoff, and find your way. The other way is obviously just be a part of the cult. And then the other is be a part of the cult still, but be aware that this is fucked up, but you're too scared to run. And you can attribute that same kind of logic to the idea of America, this cult. You can accept this shit, and we can just stop talking about this and just straight talk about hip-hop and argue who's the best rapper alive, and then argue about who's the greatest NBA player, and then argue about who's the greatest football player and greatest American football player, and then do all that shit and then be like, yo, I got more money than you, I'm getting this, I'm doing that. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm getting this, I'm doing that, blah, blah, blah. We can do that, or we can completely separate and, better our political educations, deal with other people, get in orgs, figure shit out, map out what we want to do with ourselves in an adversarial way to empire as a whole. Or you can be aware that this is fucked up, but kind of accept it, so it's like a fucking comfortable demise. And then the last thing that happens, the last thing that happens from that cult is once you do get out, some people feel bad and still connected, so they either go back or they find another one, or if it's some kind of court shit involved, they'll just keep quiet because they don't want to hurt anybody. And then sometimes because they getting threats about being hurt, even at the same time. And that could look like you being an apologist for a politician. Like being like, yo, I know we don't like fucking Donald Trump, but you know, like, I know we don't like Donald Trump. I know Kamala, you know, she was a fucking a cop and shit, and she said this and she said that. But like, do you want Donald Trump? Why in your mind is a duopoly the only way that people can push policy? Because if we want to be fair about living in this democratic republic, if the people are who put these politicians in their places, wouldn't it make sense for the people to put their political focus on something else, which in turn forces the politicians to have to do something else? Like, as much of a fucking, like, whatever Zoran is, like, he presents and prizes as somebody of the people. Like, so much so that certain shit gets blown out of proportion, or he gets fucking credit for that he didn't do. Just real quick though, Big L, he was a Harlem guy, right? Yeah, Big L was Harlem. Yeah, Big L got killed because the story I got when I was a kid is that he got shot because he looked like his brother. Like, I think they were supposed to be killing his brother, but they shot him. But yeah, Big L, the fucking what is it? The something of the dice game. But yeah, Big L had a lot of shit where he talked about stuff. But yeah, again, hood, like Cameron said it, like rappers are fucking news reporters. When people talk like there are only two options, they only expose their lack of creativity. I always wonder, like, do y'all live your lives only two options? Reaching El Hajj, complicated this. Yeah, recalling. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Everybody that said something. Exactly in mass. But like El Hajj, and being because like people talk about like the NOI, complete with his own contradictions, but that Big L. Yeah, I mean, again, hip hop started in the park. Like, honestly, even like fucking Wu-Tang, like everybody's gonna have some shit that you like, damn, like once you get older or you get like just more politically aware and more learned in that regard, and you hear shit, you like, damn, this motherfucker really talking about some shit. But then you talk to them and then they're like, wait, but you don't, hold on, what the fuck? Because like it's not that they don't necessarily believe what they're saying out their mouth, is that I'm reporting it, right? And it's poetry. Like and then also like I'm trying to sell a record. But when you look at like El Hajj Omowale, like you look at like formerly known as Malcolm X, like him being with the NOI, and then him being kicked out of the NOI, and then him, you know, trying to make some kind of, well, when he was in the NOI, trying to make some kind of, like, how can I justify how can I justify Elijah Muhammad being with young girls? Like, he did shit. Like, or like I got that book, I gotta start it, about Dr. Betty Shabazz, like from her standpoint on things. I gotta start the book though. But like the ups and downs with that, you know, like, I mean, Dr. Balls talked about it, like him dealing with his internalized misogyny and shit like that. Because like the issue is that people think that everybody who they fuck with has to be perfect. And this, I'm not talking to nobody here, but I'm just saying, like, in regards to political figures, like whether current or past, activists, whether current or past, they feel as though when people attack them, the people attack them as if these people have to be like 100% perfect. again, it's dialectic. So if the contradictions that this person possesses don't ever get dealt with actively, then it becomes an issue. Then that's when it becomes a fucking problem. That's when you go from like Eldridge Cleaver being who he was within the Black Panther Party to then what Eldridge Cleaver ended up being. You know what I'm saying? So you play with this idea that you just honestly listen to what these people are saying and go off of what they're talking about rather than, again, cult of personality, making these people into golden calves. You don't need to. Like, everybody got contradictions. It's an issue when you become a hypocrite by not addressing your contradictions. Like, us talking about hip-hop, talking about the rappers, like, those are contradictions. We address it by saying, like, yo, they were dope, but they had, you know, shitty politics on this, blah, like this and the third, but I still fuck with the music, though. Like, or whatever have you. Like, the thing is, you can play with the contradictions and like, I fuck with the music. Maybe I don't listen to it how, you know, people listen to it. Maybe I listen to it differently. Like, oh, I like this movie, man. Because for me, like, I like movies. Like, my iPad, I think, has over, like, 150 movies on it. No, I think actually, like, 400, probably. Because I got, like, anime shows on there, too. But, like, maybe, you know, you watch them in a different way. Like, you get a different way. Like, Jack Sparrow, right? Like, but this idea that we aren't in a cult is further pushing us into this cult. Same with a lot of metal bands too. When I got older, a lot of stuff like, goddamn, I see. Right, like, I feel like, in closing, I feel like we have to address the cult. If you run into the FBA type Malachi York apologist, Stephen A. Thinking, Al Sharpton respectability, Tariq Nasheed nonsense motherfuckers, tell them they're in a cult. Tell them you're also in a cult. Tell them they're further along in this cult than you are. And see if you can save them. Because this is what I'm saying, what many others have said, written about, made movies on, documentaries, TV shows, whatever the fuck, has been said over and over and over again. And we just keep coming back here. It's progressive inertia. We just keep coming back here. Like, we've gotten to a point where Palestine is just a talking point because of the Overton window. And Overton, the dude that the Overton window is named after, he was a conservative, right-winged consultant. Like, he was like a strategist and shit. So the Overton window is basically, really the Overton window is for like conservatives. It's like, what are conservatives willing to talk about? But, so honestly, with that, you want to kind of figure out whether or not you're somebody that is at the windowsill of the Overton window and just pushing it up more so we could talk about more stuff. Or if you outside with rocks and you trying to break that bitch. Because fuck that house. So with that being said, I appreciate everybody being here. Thank you for listening to me yap. Like, comment, and subscribe. Hype this video. I have a Patreon you can sign up for. I'm gonna start putting content on there. Actually, I'm gonna put this up there too, because I see like in my videos that I don't have I don't have like YouTube lets you know even before you're monetized that this might not be monetized. So I have a lot of videos that might not be monetized when I'm ever monetized because of like having like video like stuff from Al Jazeera in it and blah blah blah. So I put a lot of those. I put all of those videos on Patreon, and I'm gonna put this on Patreon too. But yeah, nevertheless, check me out on Patreon. Check me out on this shit. Like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe to my Patreon. I appreciate all of you guys. I'm gonna read. Oh, hey, let me. I'm so glad you talked about this today, Dre. This is how I've been feeling, observing the conversations I've been in. Can't wait to hang out next week. Oh, dope! Can't wait to see you. Thank you, Graysheen. Thank you. Idealization of a person. Idealization of a person is dehumanizing, like stand-in musicians who are just another person. Definitely culty. Yep. Yeah. Thanks to everybody. Appreciate you guys. Let me get on out of here. And also, I'll see you next week on Saturdays with Renee, me and Samantha. We're gonna be talking about movies and how they try to make you into liberals and how fucking one battle after another is basically a FBI psyop for a lot of reasons. And yeah, peace.